Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen. It is Three Bold Takes. I'm one of your hosts, Freddie. I'm joined by Chase and Quinn, and we're starting off another series. We just finished one on what makes a successful season. This one, we're going to be breaking down a bunch of teams' season schedules, giving our record predictions for said team, and as well as bringing up some key matchups. So I'm super excited about this one. Obviously, you can see the first team is Auburn. We did not do them in our What Makes a Season Successful, so I thought it'd be nice to go ahead and start with them since we have not talked about them in the offseason. And, you know, after a 6-7 year last year with a bowl loss, there's a lot of things down at Auburn that need to change. Hugh Freeze is in year 2. So, you know, it is what it is down there in Auburn. We're going to try to break down their schedule here, see what we think they're going to do. But I want to pass it off to Quinn first to discuss some key matchups and what you think they're going to do.
Yeah, you know, you point out it's Hugh Freeze year 2 at Auburn. This is kind of the make it or break it season for Freeze. And, you know, I think the first thing that jumps out to me for Auburn's schedule when you're talking about what can their record be, you have this really favorable lead up into your season. I don't think they're necessarily playing the hardest out of conference schedule this year. Cal is your big game non-con. You should beat Cal at home. I'm just going to put that bluntly. And then you open SEC play with Arkansas, which I think if you're Auburn, that's pretty favorable. Out of all the teams you could grab for an early season SEC opener, Arkansas is one I would want more so than half the conference, if we're being honest. And then you follow that up with Oklahoma at home, which I think could be a sneaky game. And keep in mind, this is 5 home games to start your year. I think that's a pivot game for their season. So if they win that game against Oklahoma, we could be talking about Auburn pulling one of those linchpin Auburn seasons where they win 10, 11 games and make a playoff run and nobody's talking about it. I don't think they have that at quarterback. I personally think Auburn's going to fall somewhere about an 8-4 season. I do think there are a couple high-end teams on your schedule that I think they have the potential to jump up and beat. But I also think there's games like Texas A&M right before the Iron Bowl that I think could sneak up and get Auburn. If you get what I'm saying. I don't think they're going to be the most mature team this season. It's going to cost them in some games that they should probably win. But I also think there's a lot of potential for them to sneak up and beat some people they shouldn't, because that's just what Hugh Freeze built his entire reputation on. And I think come year 2, with a favorable schedule like I think they have compared to what they're used to playing at Auburn, I could see Auburn making a run, but I'm going to give them 8-4.
Yeah, so a big game for me that I like is the Missouri and A&M game. I think the A&M's a big one because you got a new coach out of Texas A&M. It's late in your schedule as well. If this was earlier on, I don't think it's as significant, but late, you get them at home before you travel to your big rival at the end of the season. That's a huge game to kind of end it because you're going to play Louisiana Monroe and Vandy before. It's nothing to kind of hang your hat on. You got Texas A&M. You need a momentum push right there going into first-year head coach DeBoer at Alabama now. So there's a chance you can make something shake out of that. I'm going to go with Quinn, though. I think 8-4 is going to be where they're going to sit around. I think there's going to be an improvement. There has to be an improvement. This is one of the best recruiting classes Auburn has seen in the last decade, probably since around the Cam Newton era. And Hugh Freeze does a wonderful job on the offensive side of the ball, like Quinn mentioned as well. Peyton Thorne is not your guy. I thought they were going to get somebody in the transfer portal. I think they wisped on those. They didn't grab anybody. I think they had a couple guys that they wanted, and they just went other places. And so they got stuck with this guy for a second year. I think the other big one is Missouri. As good as Missouri was last year, if you've watched any of our videos in the offseason, I do not believe they're going to be the same team as next year. And so winning that early on, I think that's within the first 7 weeks. And that's also following very tough games in Oklahoma and Georgia as well. I think the Missouri and Texas A&M games are one that need to be circled for Auburn this year, and I think they end up 8-4.
Yeah, well, this one's kind of boring. I'm going 8-4 as well, but I want to, Quinn, you pretty much alluded to what I wanted to say. If you look at their schedule, they're almost guaranteed a bowl game. I mean, you're guaranteed a 6-6 record. You've got Alabama A&M, Cal, New Mexico, Arkansas, Vandy, and Louisiana Monroe, right? Now, if I think they're 8-4, you beat Kentucky. What's Kentucky going to be like this year? I mean, I think that's a very winnable game for Auburn. And then, Oklahoma coming to town. Oklahoma doesn't know what to do whenever they come to Auburn, especially if this game ends up being at night, because as you mentioned, I mean, they're going to be 4-0. They're probably could be ranked in the top 25 at that point if they're 4-0, simply because of where their ESPN FPI is heading into this year, which is another topic for another day. But there's a very good chance that they're ranked, and if they beat Oklahoma, then all of a sudden you're looking at that at Georgia game with a top 15, top 20 Auburn team. That could sway the season. So to me, it's obviously the Oklahoma game is the biggest one to continue the momentum that you've got from the first 4 weeks of the year. But yeah, if you don't make a bowl game, then this is an absolute disappointment of a year for Auburn when you look at this schedule, because to me, they're guaranteed a bowl game. And then what you do on top of that determines the course of the next couple of years. Can you compete with Georgia like you did a year ago? Can you compete with Missouri, who just had a fantastic year a year ago, who may not be as good as they were last year, but can you still compete with them? Right, like these are the questions that we're going to start asking a few Freeze in year 2 that we didn't really ask in year 1 because of the mess that he was left with. Now's your chance to cement what you are going to do at Auburn. So I think it should be interesting this year. I'm excited to see Auburn play, believe it or not. All of us are Alabama fans, but, hey, I love it when Auburn's good. It's kind of boring when they suck, to be honest with you, as a college football fan first and foremost. So that's been the Auburn Tigers in 2024 and their season schedule prediction. We have 8-4 across the board, which I promise you probably will not happen every video in this series. So like, comment, subscribe, and we will talk to you guys next week. We got about 3 or 4 videos coming out a week now with this series. So appreciate you guys watching.